auspiciousness, prosperity, and abundance. Only light can drive darkness and make it possible to see things. Now I request all the dignitaries to light the lamp and inaugurate our event.
Thank you, sirs. The will to win, the desire to succeed, the urge to reach your full potential, they are the keys that will unlock the door to personal excellence. I wholeheartedly welcome Dr. P. Krishna Kumar, CEO and Secretary, Nehru Group of Institutions, for the presidential address. Welcome, sir.
Good morning to all. Two speakers are here today in the morning for this session, Mr. Ramakrishnan, Managing Director of Tulsi Pharmacy, and Jnana Savadhan, Green India Laboratories, Madurai. Respected Principal Franklin, Dean Professor Fenn, and Principal of NITM, Dr. Mons Daniel, other senior professors, faculty members, and my dear students. At the outset, I feel honored to be part of this e-week celebration, and I'm really amazed to see the list of speakers which is identified for a week. I think almost 10 to 12 people are visiting, sharing their experience, giving an insight about how to be an entrepreneur rather than an employee. So I think this initiative which is taken by Nehru College of Management is really appreciable. And I feel this week all my MBA passing out students will spend their week with these great people of the country who have created their own identity by starting a small venture into pan-India level. So interact with them, be part of them, and get the best information from them, because probably we may not get a chance like this when you go out from the campuses. So I really, on behalf of the management and faculty, I thank all the speakers who are sparing their valuable time with us for a week. And I see a lot of topic which is very relevant, and I think above that, I see also one area where you are going to do some experiencing the sales of different products which you are going to do in this campus. I think the best group will be awarded in the last day. That is also what the principal has said. So you will experience how to do a sales, and how you'll get excited when you see the profit coming in. So the whole week will give a new experience in your life. Be part of it. And for any entrepreneur, that is for me, what I understood is that they would have been successful because of one or two main factors which they strongly believe. One is they keep on preparing the organization for the change what is happening in the world. Number two, they stick to their belief, that is what is the decision they take, and okay, I'm starting a venture which with a lot of risk, they would have taken a decision like that, but when they move up the ladder in the years to come, they still cherish that great moments. I think that is one thing which normally we won't get an excitement when you work under somebody else. And the third one, which always for any person in a society, when you get recognition, so when you become an entrepreneur and you start serving to the society, or you get an opportunity to give employment for another 100 or 500 people or 1000 people, that's the greatest thing any human being can do. So this kind of entrepreneurs which started in a small way, and now for example Tulasi Pharmacy itself, we can see how many branches they have, how they take part in the retail segment. So each person who is going to share or who are going to visit here, it's all I personally know, because my Franklin has told me to identify 2 speakers. We have got 2 speakers from Coimbatore. I think probably they will be on the last 2 days. I personally know 2 of them. They started with a very small level and come across a lot of difficulties. Probably they may be sharing, but today they are well off.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. The world has the habit of making room for man whose words and actions show that he knows where he is going. It's my pleasure to welcome the guest of the day, Mr. Ramakrishnan, Managing Director, Tulasi Pharmacy, for giving the inaugural address. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. The first instance, I would like to thank Dr. Franklin for providing me this wonderful opportunity to be here with young minds. Normally when I am invited, I readily accept going to management colleges because it keeps me updated. So whenever I am invited, I usually read 1 or 2 books before coming to address you all. But this time I am not done because I was not well last week throughout. Anyhow, I thank Dr. Franklin. I thank the Secretary of Nehru Group of Institutions, Dr. Krishna Kumar, and Professor T.B. Fenn, the Dean. So I am not a very great entrepreneur, but anyhow I would like to share my experience. But I have had my share of problems. Maybe I am not very successful, but from the point of view of problems, I have had tremendous problems in my career as an entrepreneur. Last week in one of the Rotary conferences, as rightly pointed out by Dr. Franklin here, Dr. Subramaniam Swami was here for a Rotary conference here in Kodishia. He was also highlighting this point. In India, normally we tend to get employed. We don't tend to become an entrepreneur. That's a problem. Culturally, our mindset, our parents and the peers put a lot of pressure. You all want to become only that's a trend today in Tamil Nadu. I do not know how it is in Kerala. Here you have got more than 500 engineering colleges. Every student wants to become a software professional. That is a trend. But you have to be, if you have to be a successful person, you have to be slightly different from the crowd. That is what Dr. Franklin also was hinting upon. And I would also like to dwell only on that point here today. So I started my career as a medical representative. I worked for 2-3 companies only for 3 years. That was in the year 1985 to 1988. And before that I had a small stint as an audit assistant. And after that I joined as a partner of a pharmaceutical distribution company by name Curel Pharma, which is Even now we are almost a 30-year-old company today. That is personally about me. So when I was working as a representative, I always had the urge to start my own business. At that time, one of my distributor was this Curel Pharma. The owner of that distribution firm was a good friend of mine. The business was already 5 years old. When I started interacting with him, the business was already 5 years old. Business was not doing well. Business was continuously, all those 5 years they were incurring losses. They were about to close that business. And at that point of time, we were just discussing how to continue or to close this business. Almost we were on the verge. The owner, who's presently my partner, he was almost taken a decision to close the show. But at that point of time, that was what as put forth by Dr. Krishna Kumar here. Even small things can change it. Businesses can change life. One of our employees just came and said, "We are all only discussing financial matters. Have you ever thought of the lives of the employees who are employed with you for the past 5 years?" That was like somebody slapping on our face. It was like that. So suddenly, okay. We were discussing 4-5 days on how to close and quit the business, but this one question changed the whole scenario. That day, okay, I thought, why not jump into this business? I was fairly comfortable with my job. I was working for an MNC at that time and getting a decent salary. But I thought, why not take up a challenge? And I jumped into that business and took it up as a challenge. 5 years, our capital was only 10 lakh at that time. We had accumulated losses worth around 2.5 lakhs. So just imagine how bad the business was at that time. And from then on, I got into the business. Honestly speaking, I had a slight advantage over my competitors at that time. Most of our competitors were big, they had big financial strength. We didn't have that financial strength. But I had a slight advantage over them because I had the knowledge, I had worked in companies, I had the field experience. So the pharmaceutical industry is a typical, pharmaceutical distribution industry is slightly different from a consumer distribution industry. I do not know how many of you know this distribution business, but it is slightly different. In the same area, for instance, Glaxo has got 25 distributors in Coimbatore alone, catering to the same area. So it's a very tricky business. There are discounts and you go to at that time in 87, 88, if you go on not the customer, that is a retail chemist, they started dictating terms, they started practically fleecing us, and business was very difficult. So what I thought was, we had two big companies, those two companies were among the top 10 companies of India. But these two companies were practically, leeching upon us. They were not treating us properly. So what I thought was something unique we should try. So what I did was, I went into the market, found out which companies do not have proper distribution. Most of the small companies, most of the medium-sized companies, they had good products, unique products, but they didn't have good proper distribution. Most of the big distributors were only concentrating on companies like Glaxo, Pfizer, Aventis and all this, big companies. When these small companies go and approach them, they were not willing to take up those companies. They were not treating them properly. So what I did was that I made a small survey of which companies don't have proper distribution set up. So I went behind them, I called those, we approached the field executives of those companies, and we took over the distribution of such companies. And after 4 or 5 years, any chemist who starts a business has to come to me, because we had a lot of this unique small-sized companies. They were forced to come to us, and we had our own terms. We were not just throwing credit and discounts. We had our own terms. Not very rigorous. We were fairly, our terms were fairly reasonable. And what I did at that time was, most of the other problem in the retailers faced was, they were not getting proper credit notes for whatever. In the pharmaceutical industry, once the products are expired, you can return back to the distributor who will issue a credit note. These credit notes were not properly issued to the retailers. So I identified that problem too, and they would not certainly know whether the product will come in the evening and whether they can commit it to the customer. They had problems like this. So I made it certain that once my salesman takes an order, at least 95% of the product should be made available to the chemist in the evening itself. That was another USP which we tried. All these things started working out very well for us, and the business fairly grew up, and in 97, 98, we were rated as one of the top distributors in terms of service, not in terms of sales. We were rated as one of the top distributors in terms of service. So this went on like this. This is my distribution experience. So, but by 98, 99, all this, as is happening in all the businesses, most of the things we introduced, West did not do that. They came with a set of demands, we came with a set of demands, we were discussing, then nothing happened. So one fine day, we thought, why talk so much? They were not, practically after some time, they were too, artistic was so much, you all know, beyond a point, nobody can lend your hand. So what I thought personally, at that time I was an office bearer in the Pharmaceutical Distributors Association, so I thought it's better to, we have to do something, then rather than talking to them, begging to them always. So what I thought was, why not start a retail? Start a retail on our own, which would be the benchmark for all of them. So we started doing a survey. So what are the pitfalls of the retail industry, of a chemist at that time? The major problem was the availability, lack of space. At that time in 2000, if you go and see a pharmaceutical retail outlet, it was hardly 100, 110 square feet, or at the most 200 square feet. The customer would be standing out of the shop. There was no space for you to go inside. Not even proper refrigerators, no proper computer, no proper billing. You were not, as told by Dr. Franklin earlier, there was no proper billing, there was no proper transparency. It was run like what you call like an Annachi Kada in Tamil Nadu, we say. I do not know how they call it in Kerala, but it was run like that. It was not organized. But pharmacy, we sincerely felt that pharmacy is not a business to be run like that. Pharmacy is a little technical subject. At that time there were no pharmacists also. Pharmacists they will take the schedule register. He will be working in a hotel. I know a retail chemist. The pharmacist was working in Hotel City Tower. This guy would take the schedule register. There is a statutory register which has to be, whenever the shop is open, the pharmacist is supposed to dispense the medicines. But this is what was happening at that time. So we wanted to change all that. So we just made a survey of what all problems are there in the pharmaceutical retail industry at that time. So we tried to offer a retail pharmacy which could address all this. So we started a pharmacy which was 1,000 square feet in size, which had 3-4 qualified pharmacists. We had air conditioned that pharmacy at that time, because at that time, it was in 2001, in Maharashtra, government had made it mandatory to air condition the pharmacies, because most of the medicines have to be kept under 25 degrees centigrade. So at that time in Tamil Nadu it was not mandatory. Even now it is not mandatory. But now the drug inspectors are insisting that we must put up an air conditioner when you are opening the shop. But it's not been practiced in full. But even at that time, we started installing air conditioners in our pharmacy, and we had also appointed counselors. We will have a qualified pharmacist who will help you to read your prescription, will help you to clear your doubts on medicines that are prescribed to you. He will also do some basic tests like sugar, your blood glucose levels and BP, like that. And we also ensure that our pharmacies are located in places where an elderly person can walk in freely. Most of our pharmacies were started in not very busy locations at that time. Now, in certain rural areas, we start we have started putting up in near bus stations. But normally, we open our pharmacies in places where an elderly patient can very leisurely walk in. Places like Araspuram on Vengadasamy Road, in Gandhipuram 2nd Street. We were not present in any of the high streets. That was a kind of a policy, because as he said, as Dr. Krishna Kumar said, every single, as entrepreneurs, you have to be very, very vigilant. You have to be very, very street smart. Any small opportunity, anything which you come across in your life, anything which you come across, even while you travel, you must try to, if you find it suitable, you must try to adapt it to your business. Sometime in 1997-98, we went to one sweet shop in Adayar, in Chennai. It's a very famous sweet shop. It is called the Grand Sweets. It's a very famous thing. It is there for a very long time, but it is not on a high street. It is not on a busy street. It is on a by lane. It is, it is on a big bungalow type of a building, old bungalow type of a building. You will have trees in front of the house. You will have chairs. You can sit down there. They will issue. You can give your order. You can wait there for some time. They will even give you some samples of sweets or something like that. So that triggered something in us. Why not start a pharmacy also? Though that place was totally away from the busy streets of Chennai, they were doing tremendous business. That triggered a small idea in us. So we also started our first pharmacy in Araspuram in a not so busy street, in a residential locality. So an entrepreneur, that's what I'm just telling, as told by the earlier speakers, an entrepreneur has always you have to be vigilant, you have to adapt ideas. So that is what we made us start our pharmacy in residential localities. And we started, at that time, there was no problem billing. We ensured that all the patients were given bill. Even for 1 rupee you buy medicine, you will be given proper bill. And we were the first to introduce discounting, which raised a lot of problems for us. Here there is a man from pharmaceutical industry. He should be aware of all that. We have a very powerful association called the All India Organization of Chemists and Druggists, which has got more than 7 lakh members. So they will not allow you to sell medicines at a price less than the MRP. So they gave a lot of problems. They choked our supplies. Suppliers who just supplied medicines to us were boycotted. Boycotted means the other retailers would not buy from them. Their payments were withheld. We had to go to the court. We had to go to the MRTP commission. We had to fight a big case. Spent huge amount of money at that time itself. Somehow we were never yielding to their demands. We were very stubborn and we felt that whatever we are doing, it is right. That we sincerely believe that what we are doing is as per the law. It may be against a group of retailers, but it is not against law. So we pursued the legal recourse, and we got the right kind of judgments which enabled us to get proper supplies from the distributors. And from there was no looking back. Now we have got around 32 outlets spread throughout Tamil Nadu. And what we did, once all this were addressed, what we did was we slowly started building up our brand. This is very important in retail, because as students I would want you all to know how to, I am not a professor maybe, but whatever little experience I have, I would only like to share it with you. This brand building is very, very important, but building a brand for a small and medium enterprise is very, very difficult. You cannot go to you cannot go to TV media, because you all know it is exorbitant. You cannot also go to print media often. Only once in a while you can go to a print media, because that is also very costly in our country today. So what we did was, we did lot of promotions in our neighborhood. That is, we conducted lot of camps, blood glucose monitoring camps. We had BMD camps. We also conducted a lot of small competitions. We participated during festivals. We participated with the local residents association. We planted a lot of trees in our locality. We have a blood donors registry where we have channelized more than 1,100 blood donors in this past 2-3 years. Like this, we did a lot of kind of social work plus marketing. So this ensured a lot of brand loyalty to us. At the same time, it was not a very costly affair, and it was we had the twin advantage. One is we could do some service really to the society, and the other thing was our brand also was building up. So this could be a good idea for you if you start a small or medium enterprise in future. You can try this method. And we also now recently all this, as I told you, all this USBs normally they get copied over a period of time, and it is happening for us too. But what we are trying, we have a different plan now, because businessmen have to adapt quickly to the changing scenario. If you don't adapt to the changing scenario, definitely you will be cold. So we have got a different strategy now. The strategies which were relevant 10 years back are not relevant today. So we are devising some new strategies wherein we will have our own brands which will be priced at half or one-fourth of the leading brands, and we have not, and the benefit will be passed down to the consumer. Suppose a consumer has to buy a set of medicines at 1,000 rupees from certain particular brands. We can bring those products in our own label, provided the doctor and the patient agrees. We can bring it down to around 500-600 rupees. So because we have now around 35 outlets now, we are doing a turnover of around 100 crores now. We can do all that. We can have our own brands. Now what happened was, all the small stores, single stores, they are able to jump into this discount business, and they also started offering all this. But the other model, the present model which I am talking is, we will have our own labels. So own labels should have a critical mass. You must at least produce 2 lakh tablets or 4 lakh tablets. That's the minimum batch size, which these standalone shops cannot do. That is why we are slowly experimenting that model. Maybe in a couple of years we may do that. I'm not very sure. I'm just telling this in front of you because this is an idea which popped up in me to come up with this business at the present moment. So this is what is my small story. And the opportunities are plenty. You don't think that retail, you cannot build up a career. Your principal was there in the Retail Leadership Summit this year. So the opportunities are plenty. In places like Bombay, retail is a big career. This is a sunrise industry, because that is why many of the MNCs, Walmart and Tesco and all these companies, Carrefour, all these companies, they want to come into India because they see a huge market. The market size of the Indian retail industry is 25 lakh crores. Just imagine, 25 lakh crores, which is the size of Walmart. Walmart today does a turnover of 25 lakh crores, almost the same turnover of the total Indian retail industry. So that's the size. So you just imagine the scope that is available to you all when you jump into retail. So you can seriously consider retail as a career for you, all of you. That's my small suggestion. And regarding pharma also is growing at a tremendous pace. When I came into this industry in 1985, pharmaceutical industry was only worth around 600 or 650 crores in 1985. Today it is 1,30,000 crores. Out of which 65,000 crores or 70,000 crores is the domestic, and the rest is export. So just imagine the size, just imagine the growth. You could, the kind of growth that has happened in the pharmaceutical industry. No other industry has seen the kind of growth as the pharmaceutical industry has seen. So this is the small information I wanted to share with you all. Thank you for the opportunity. If you have any questions, so please feel free, either now or even outside. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. As a part of our love and gratitude, I request our CEO Dr. P. Krishnakumar sir to present the memento to our chief guest, Mr. Ramakrishnan, Managing Director of Tulasi Pharmacy.